Hello and welcome to High Caliber TV, or source for figure and model updates every Wednesday and Friday. So today on the workbench I'm going to be showing off an error that I made and how I'm going to go about fixing it. As you can see, there was some damage to his right shoulder. So what normally happens is when I spray and finish spraying, applying all the colors that I'm going to be doing with the spray gun, I then coat the entire figure in a clear semi-gloss solution or clear gloss, which, as I've said before, reduces the surface tension and allows for washes to be applied. But another thing is, when you start to hand paint, if you make any small errors while the paint's still wet in the error, you can take a really soft brush and put a bit of water on it, and then you can actually, for the most part, clear it away. But since I forgot accidentally on purpose to apply the gloss coat over it, the paint was still very fragile and the damage occurred. So what I'm planning on doing is going right back at it with the spray gun, because if I try and hand paint in the correction, it'll just look off and it'll look obvious. So I've got to coat his entire shoulder area, which I will begin with the highlights and then go at it with the shadows. Another very tragic mistake was that the barrel was knocked off. What I'm going to be doing is describing my solution to that in possibly a later video. I've got some very fine brass rod that I'm going to drill a hole into the barrel and then replace the barrel with the brass rod. So stick around, I'll show you what's up. So here we are again. The shoulder's been fixed with two simple, very thin coats, one straight down and then across the shoulders to even it out. So the color wasn't exactly the same, so I needed to apply it to other areas of highlight and blend it into the rest of the figure. And then of course a very simple shadow, just really light and not particularly heavy looking. I didn't want to have to redo the entire figure. I just wanted to sort of blend that area back in to the rest of the fold. And then, as you can see, there's a bit of a sheen to the figure now. He's not matte anymore. What I did was I applied the gloss coat to both figures and the base at once, just to keep everybody on the same page. One thing I want to note, whenever you're applying any sort of clear coat, what I do is I thin down the clear with by 50% with my alcoholic solution. And this is for two reasons. The first is that you get more out of your gloss coat. The second is that it doesn't allow the gloss coat to accumulate and pool in the, say, like folds on the uniform or shelving areas, like on the belt buckle or on his holster or anything like that. And what I mean by accumulate is whenever you have something like clear gloss or clear flat or varnish, if there's too much of it and it doesn't dry immediately, it could run and then you'll get white patches where it accumulates, and then it'll dry and basically you get to the end of the figure and then he's ruined. So bear that in mind. Keep your coats thin. Be patient. Don't turn the PSI up too much. I turned it up a few notches on this. I always do for fast coats like clear coat or primer or base coats, to around 19 or 20, just because I guess I get impatient and I don't want it to dry in the gun and gum it up. So here's the other guy. I really like this sergeant. I have to say, I am actually quite excited about dry brushing his wool vest, or I don't know if it's wool or if it's lamb or, you know, whatever it is. It's going to be interesting anyway. So I also did the base at the same time. I want to show one point here. If you'll note, the bags look a bit more bleached. I decided to preempt the dulling effect of clear flat, and when clear flat, when you put it on, it will it'll reduce the sharpness of all detail by a fraction, depending on how much you put on. Obviously, I always err on the thin side when I apply clear coats, but what I'm getting at is that if the sandbags were too dull, then the dulling would make them look muted. And they're supposed to look muted, but I don't want them to look characterless and featureless. So in preparation for the washes that are gonna create a bit more sort of eye-catchiness in the detail, and also the pastels and some simple like MIG pigment filters and things like that. I starched them up a bit and made them look a bit more bright. These are just in certain areas. Not all over. I still wanted to have a bit of a random look to it. So thanks very much for watching. I also want to say thanks to, again, all the people on YouTube who comment and subscribe. You guys are great. I also want to say a special thanks to everyone who's come back and checked out the shop and given us all kinds of great feedback. We really, really appreciate that. And one of the best parts about my job, I have to say, is getting to talk to customers. Just getting to talk about the projects they're working on, things I'm working on, stuff like that. People seem to, when they call me up, they seem to think like, they act like they're putting me out or inconveniencing me by talking about what they're doing, but I really do enjoy it. And I don't get to talk about projects and modeling quite as often as I'd like to, even though this is all I do basically all day. So yeah, thanks very much for doing that. Check us out at highcaliberminiatures.com. The link's in the description below for these figures and many, many more like them. And also be sure to follow us on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you on Wednesday.